right, what's up? Waiting for everybody to come on. We appreciate your time, your talent, your effort, your energy. Thanks for being on with us. Shalom, Akwa Abba, bonjour. We appreciate you being on with us. Ready to get our TikTok viewership on. Thank you for those who are going to watch this later on YouTube. We appreciate you. Feel free to like, share, subscribe. Hit us up, with any questions you might have in the comment section or any comments, concerns, etc. And we're going to make sure that we learn some great things. Hello, Tammy. How are you doing? Welcome to everybody. We're going to talk about not grading yourself on a curve. Not grading yourself on a curve. And this is this is the evening sessions. Our evening sessions are pretty short, especially in comparison to our sessions in the rising. So we're going to be in and out with this, so to speak. However, those who are coming on, we're thankful, grateful. Those of you who are listening on, like I said, on YouTube to this later on, we appreciate you. Also, too, the number that's above my head is going to change. I gave you a number that's a back, like a number that we use as a secondary number, but it's really more so just for certain things that we have, certain accounts or different things attached to. So we actually have another number. It's a 410 number, not my wife's number. We have a new 410 number. I've been trying to text people slowly but surely. We're going to have it soon. So if you've been trying to reach out to us, 202 599-7312 number, that number is no longer going to be any of any value. We're going to step away from that number because it's like the third time that we've had an issue with that specific number and company and all that stuff. And we're just not going to do it. Hey, shalom, Sister Sonia. How you doing? So let's go ahead and get into this. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer. And it's in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect this message. Amen. Thank you, everybody, for being on. We give all honor to the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. I give all honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya. We give all honor to each and every one of you, to my family, to my children, to our community, even those who may or may not like what we're doing. We appreciate you. We're thankful and grateful for you being on. Continue to pray for me. I got something came up doing a lot better than what I was doing this rising, yet I'm still trying to recover. So you guys just keep us in prayer regarding that. And we're thankful and grateful for those of you who are listening in and tuning in. And we're once again going to speak specifically on not grading yourself on a curve. Right? Really, we want you to stop grading yourself on a curve. Right? Now, a lot of you already know what that means. Just in case you're not aware of what that means to grade yourself on a curve. Shalom, Minister Tamara. Shalom, Minister Anais. If you're not aware of what it is to grade yourself on a curve, thank you, Dashima. Amen. There are a lot of people who grade themselves on curves. Now, grading yourself on a curve is pretty simple, right? Grading yourself on a curve is basically saying that you are going to be somebody who doesn't grade yourself according to what the standard is or even what the standard should be for yourself. Rather, you would make sure that you grade yourself according to what others, or, comparing yourself to others. So let's say you're in a class, right? And everybody's, the goal is to get 100%. Everybody does really bad on the test. So they say we're going to grade the test on the curve since nobody really did well. So they say, okay, let's say somebody got 60% and the lowest score was 20%. So 60% is now an A, right? 20% is maybe now, or, maybe, I don't know, somewhere around 30% is now a failing grade. And so we're going to call it a curve, right? Or whatever the teacher decides to do. This seems like a great fix. The problem, though, is that people are still nowhere close to what they were supposed to learn. They were not educated correctly. Maybe they didn't study. Maybe they didn't have the right opportunity. Whatever the case, maybe the subject matter is too difficult and they should have learned some other things first. However, to grade on a curve, right, is to get us in a specific place, right? To grade on a curve is to get us to a specific place. If we be honest, to get us, to a place to where we're not living up to full potential or getting to that 100%. And what a lot of people, if we can just make this personal and go outside of a school system and go back to our personal lives, A lot of people are grading on a curve every day in their personal life. You're grading on a curve because you don't look at what it is that you can do and the best you can do, the greatest you can do according to what you're supposed to do. You look at comparing yourself to everybody else. You know, well, I'm the first person in my family to graduate high school. I'm excited. You're breaking generational curses. Don't stop there, though, right? Don't grade on the curve and say, well, I'm better than everybody in my family, therefore I'm great, right? Your greatness should not be predicated upon somebody else. I'm the first person in my family to make sure that I was investing. That's great, right? But if you only invested $100, maybe you should be investing as much as you can, right? I'm the first person in my family to get out of the hood. That's great. Did you do anything to fix the hood or to make sure that you could bring others out? Or is that all you are? You know, you're okay with going to an apartment complex, but you're still not owning, or you have a mortgage, but you don't own your own land, bundle of rights, all those things, right? There's always a level of whatever you're going to that should be higher than what anything else is. And thank you for the likes, by the way, on TikTok. We appreciate those, and the gifts and all those different things. You know, but I just wanted to kind of share that with you, that so many people are busy comparing themselves to other people that they're not able to become themselves. You know, so many of us are so busy comparing ourselves to other people. I wake up early, nobody else wakes up early. Well, there's a bunch of people around the world that wake up earlier than you. And you can always find, here's the deal, you can always find somebody, if we just be honest, if you look hard enough, you can always find somebody who's not on a level in something that you are. So you don't have to look that hard. You know, think about it. But think about it. You know, Yahshua HaMashiach says when we sit up there and we say stuff like, "Oh, well, I take care of my children," like evil people take care of their children. Is that is that the grade you're giving, or am I giving my children the best that I can from what I have and what their circumstance is and what their calling is and what they're supposed to become? To class solidarity and class conscious are vital to solidarity. Okay. Right? So, you know, but Joshua said straight up, like, you talking about loving your children. It's like, yeah, you know, Adolf Hitler loved his children. What is that? You know what I'm saying? You know, Joseph Stalin took care of his children, right? Papa Doc made sure that Baby Doc was put in position to be able to rule. It doesn't mean that just because you take care of your child that you're better than somebody else, right? Now, what do you do for your child specifically? Well, I cook, I clean. This is the first thing that we do. You know, I cook for you, I clean for you, blah, blah. Okay, well, is that it? Right? Is that all we got? Like, I cook and I clean for you. I mean, I'm not trying to say that that's nothing, right? But what I'm saying is that don't do this thing of comparing, right? The child might be at an age where they can't cook or clean for themselves, at least not at the level you do. So, you know, why are you grading yourself and saying I'm better than you because I can do something? Like, where's your accountability? They're not accountable to the certain level of things yet because you should be teaching them to raise their level of accountability. How can you be accountable to something that you're not able to do? It's called account-able. Are you able even to account for that, right? My 6-year-old can't account for what my 20-year-old can account for. He can't. He can try all day, but he can't because he's not on a 20-year-old's level. I expect certain things from the 20-year-old that I will not expect from the 6-year-old, at least for some years to come. Who knows where he'll be, right? And I'm not going to compare him. I'm not going to say, oh, your brother was doing this at this age. You know, your sister was doing this at this age. You know, at your age, I was doing blah, blah, blah. That's for me. That's my walk. That's not their walk. I don't need to set a curve and say that I'm going to grade you off of me. I'm going to grade you off of yourself, right? And a lot of people aren't ready for that discussion, right? A lot of people are not ready for that discussion. So grading ourselves based on someone else's abilities and standards instead of setting our own, right? Like, think about how many boys are trying their best to please their fathers in sports that they don't even want to play, but they just want their father to applaud them because the father won't applaud chess. He won't applaud investing. He won't applaud healing. He won't applaud, you know, crying and different things like that. So he never cries. He never shows any emotion and stuff. Then he gets to be an adult male who's messed up because he's never been taught what it is to be a male. Like, males can cry. Men can cry. Right? But you were grading on the curve. Your dad was the standard. He was your standard. And look, I'm not saying that your father should never be your standard at all. That's great that you have a standard. What I will say, though, is that the father's goal should not be that the son has to basically be nothing but him and have no free will. I don't know. If you don't like me on there, you know you can just block me though. So just go ahead and block me. You won't have to worry about it. You know. But once again, like these are things that you have to realize and recognize, right? Like a lot of people are on here doing all this stuff, and you know, going off of somebody else's thing, like this person on here. Oh man, why are you on my thing? Like if you didn't want me on your thing, you could easily block me, right? Of course you want to be on it, right? So, but you have to comprehend like people set a curve, and really what the danger is that many people who set this curve are people who are how should I say this? A lot of people who set the curve are going to be people who are selfish, and selfishness can be a vital thing, especially when it comes to um, survival, right? But a lot of people are selfish in a manner in which all they're trying to do is just deal with themselves and what they think, get into relationship issues. Well, I'm mad at you because you don't do this and this and this. Well, you don't do this. Well, I'm not going to do anything till you start. Well, when does somebody stop saying that I won't do anything unless you honor me and honor the other person? Like, why is the curve? Why is the grade? I don't have to do anything unless you do well. Why can't I do well before you do well? Why do I have to wait on you to do well before I start doing well? Why do I have to wait on you to respect me before I start respecting you? Hey, Shalom, Austria, how you doing, right? I'm sorry, can I go over New Age movement? Well, I would say even in the New Age movement, I won't go deep into it because that's not what our focus is, and we don't really spend too much time on evening sessions, especially nowhere close to what we spend in the Rising. I will say, as far as New Age movement, and I'm assuming you're talking about New Age spirituality, it's nothing but a curve grade. I don't want to be held accountable for just about anything. So how can I find ways to say that I shouldn't be held accountable for anything? There's nobody to hold me accountable. There's nothing that really exists. You know, think about that. Like if nothing exists, then whatever I do doesn't matter. And that's what a lot of people are on. Nothing exists outside of my own perception. So you're saying 8 billion or getting close to whatever it is now, right? 8 billion people, right? 8 billion people on the planet that exist. All 8 billion have their own perceptions, and yet there's nothing that any of them should be held accountable for. I don't know, Aquaba. I mean, I don't know if they're saying, you know, I'm not here to go ahead and go through that. Asase is the earth. I don't know. What is it? When they say God, they're talking about, not Anansi, forgive me. On Yom Kippur, right? But anyways, I'm not worried about that right now. So the goal is, once again, like you've got to be in a position to where you start saying to yourself, what is the curve, right? Who am I being graded by? Even if you want to talk about Bill Gates, is Bill Gates the person that you're grading yourself towards? If he's not, then he doesn't really matter to you that much, because he can't really control you if you're sovereign anyways. If you live a lifestyle where you don't have to depend on what Bill Gates has, then you're fine. But a lot of people depend on the system that Bill Gates has ownership over as a king in that system. And capitalism in a republic, the republic is a kingdom. So if you're in a republic, then you got to deal with kings in that republic. But right, like Minister Nine said, you know, if he's not my standard, then why would I worry about Bill Gates that much? I know what he said. I know what he's trying to do. He keeps getting caught and stuff, and I know there's some people that are going to support him no matter what. Matter of fact, I know he has enough money to make it look like the whole world supports him, even if they don't. At the end of the day, if my standard is higher than his, and my standard helps me to stay out of his system, as somebody just put, or as the Shema just put, then why would I worry about that? Right? But are you grading on a curve? Is Bill Gates your standard? Even as Bill Gates, like watch this. Sometimes we do this. Is Bill Gates your standard for hate, or whoever it is? Is Esau your standard for hate? Is white people your standard for hate? Is black people your standard for hate? Is America your standard for hate? If your standard for hate is based off of America and not based off of what you should hate, or the word hate really meaning to ignore, that is something that's trying to take you out of rest, like we talked about this rising, that's something that's more important. That is something that's more important, right? So, you know, when you're dealing with these things, like you got to understand, like that's people are stuck in things because they keep curving, right? The grade, their grade that they're giving things. I grade this as hate. I grade this as love. I grade. Well, what is it based off of? Who is it based off of? What are you curving it off of? Is there a standard? There's 100%. Or are you curving it off of something that's only 50% anyways? The highest person got 20% on the test. And so you guys are curving stuff. You guys are going off of all these theories. No facts, no contextual facts, no context, right? Just theories. And saying these theories are factual, teaching theories as if they're facts, right? A lot of people do that all the time. You know these are theories, and they've all been a lot of these theories have been disproven, not just by people who believe what I believe, by people who don't believe what I believe. Even the people who started these things, they themselves said, you know what, my theory is not all that great. Go look up what Sir Isaac Newton said about the theory of gravity towards the end of his life. And go look up what Albert Einstein said about the theory of gravity when he disproved it with the theory of relativity. His story, well, I don't go by his story, but if you're talking about historically what happened 5,000 years, okay, I believe in that too. 5,000 years ago, the standard was not what it is now. The standard was not try to be about yourself. The standard was not be an individual without a society, because that didn't even make sense. The individual is influenced by the society is influenced by the individual. So I went that all day long. Like, why wouldn't I make sure that I listen to what ancestors have said? Why wouldn't I listen to what people have written down? Right? Even somebody on here says, I have no clue what I'm talking about, doesn't know apologetics, because literally I was just spoken apologetics. That would be probably the standard that this person lives by, right? So you got to understand, like, a lot of people curve it. I don't like what you're saying, so I'm going to just say that you have no clue what you're talking about, ad hominem. I'm going to curve it to where you're actually talking higher than what I might want to go, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that you're nothing. You said I want the freedom to choose not to participate. You have the freedom. How do you live is the question. You have the freedom, or you have the freedom of choice. You have the free will, freedom of choice, right? The question becomes, what are you willing to do with that freedom of choice, that free will? Remember, you're not over people, you're over the environment, right? So you're right. When you're over people, when you say you have to listen to me because I'm Mr. So-and-so, Pastor so-and-so, President so-and-so, whatever your position is, right? When you say you have to listen to me just because I'm this person, what it means is that you're saying I want you to be a robot, I want you to have no free will, right? And that's not what we should be about. We should be about free will. Excuse me. So, if that's what we're dealing with, then do you have an environment that allows you to exercise free will? Excuse me. And the answer for most of us is no. Right? Do you have the free will to eat your own food? Most people don't grow food, so do you have the free will to do so? The answer for most of us is no. Do you have the free will to make sure that your wife gets paid what she deserves because you own the company? The answer for most of us is no. Do you have the free will to make sure that your husband is listened to and is accepted in the company because you own it? The answer to that is no. Like, where's your free will? Where's your environment that even fosters free will? Are you even a citizen of the United States of America yet? Or are you still a United States citizen? Right? The environment. And you're grading yourself on the curve. Right? People in villages in Africa, well, not just in Africa, there's people that live in America that don't pay anything. Once they find out about it, they try to rush them. They try to move them from different places. They try to say you're just homeless. But there's a lot of people who live well in the Republic of the United States of America that don't pay anything, right? Don't, but in Africa, in South America, right? In Brazil, we call them third world countries because there's some things that they need, I guess, in comparison to others. But let's be real. There are places where people have running water. There are places where people have nice homes to live in. There are places where people live well off the land. There are places where people eat their own food. There's places where people hunt well and take care of their families and fish and do all types of stuff with just hunting. And yet somebody told you that that's terrible. Meanwhile, you're going to somebody else's store, right? Storage facility where they've stored all the stuff, hoarded everything, and then they give you fake versions of what it is you can just go out and pick out yourself. And you believe that you're supposed to pay $100 or something to be able to feed your family, and you can make sure that you just walked around your neighborhood and picked some stuff up and ate it. Like, are you in a position, right? Are you living off the natural law, or are you living off of specific things where it's like, yo, man, I got to make sure I live by things that aren't natural. I'm curving my grade. Yes, Yeshua HaMashiach does love me. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, these are things that you have to get used to, right? You would say Aruba is one of the most free and beautiful countries you've ever seen. Yeah, that's great. And even still, what is freedom to you, by the way? What is your grade on freedom? Where does that even come from? A lot of you think that you got to be, what did he used to say, young, free, In 21, it used to be young, free, white in 21, right? That's what they used to say. But young, free in 21, right? But what is it? So what is that standard? Is your standard you got to have a white picket fence, 2.5 children, have a mortgage, and be able to have a job that lasts 50 years? So you toil for somebody for 50 years but never had your own business? Is that freedom? No taxes, time to be a human being and not a human doing. Hey, human beings become, right? Now, human beings do things to become, but I get what you're saying, right? But a lot of us are not thinking about that. You said we've lost our ways as original people. Everything is done for us now, control. Well, once again, I agree with that. The question I would ask is, what are you willing to do to take control back? I mean, when it rains outside, do you collect water? I mean, you could drink your own water. If you own land, have you ever thought about seeing if there's water underneath the ground? You could have your own well. I mean, if you wanted to gain some power stuff or whatever, have you looked into solar energy? It might cost a lot at first to be able to get, and you pay some payments on it. But once you pay it off, you don't have to pay on electricity anymore for the rest of your life. You don't have to worry about a heating bill, and everything's going to come from the electricity that's solar power. Right? Yeah, 75% of the planet is water, but people pay for it. Why are you paying for something that's free? Heck, I mean, if you know how to get some sand and stuff together, some rocks, you can purify your own water. Why are you buying Purifina, Aquafina, and all this different stuff? Yes, my family, a lot of my family's Ghanaian, yes. Shui, to be exact. So, when you're talking about these things, and hey, babe, my wife is on also, the Honorable Maya, as I mentioned earlier, please follow her on Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, but the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. But these are things that you got to start asking yourself. When you say, I want freedom, what's the environment that you have for freedom? Have you graded yourself on a curve, or have you graded yourself on what is? Natural law, universal law of attraction, constitutional law, kingdom law, marital law, law first mention, all these things, they are what they are. The goal is not to try and curve the law. And a lot of people are trying to curve the law. Let the law serve you for what it is. Let the law be what it is. People love microplastic. That's fine, right? Microplastic is something that's a problem. Once again, though, like microplastic doesn't rain from the sky, right? You could catch water. You could purify the water that you catch. If you're like, well, water's polluted that comes from the sky nowadays, then heat it up, right? Filter it out. These are things that you can do all day, every day. Next time you go to a beach, instead of just sitting on the beach, make sure that you grab some sand and then take some rocks with it and then make yourself a filter and use that filter to be able to make sure that you have fresh water. They're not going to stop you from taking sand in a bucket. You can take sand in a bucket, take it in your place, and make sure you put it in a little container, and you got sand for a long time to make sure you filter your own water, right? You got to start asking yourself the question, what are you willing to do, right? Are you curving yourself? Well, a lot of us keep curving our dreams, grading ourselves and curving our dreams. So-and-so in my family doesn't do this. So-and-so out there that's talking, they don't talk like me. I'm better than this person. Who cares? What is the standard that you choose to live by? Stop curving your stuff. Stop saying, I'm only going to reach a certain level. You said, I respect the law of the land, but that's about as far as I go. Well, that's what a sovereign does. He respects the law of the land. I didn't say you had to respect United States citizenship. Right? I said respect the law, the Constitution of the United States of America. That supersedes the United States anyways. And if you really knew about that, you would understand that they're using nothing but biblical principles anyways. So just study that law, even if you don't believe in the one who wrote the law, right? Study the law because that's what you're living by anyways. It's universal. Right? Your uniform commercial codes are coming from that law. And forgive me, once again, I'm trying to make it through this evening. I'm a little under the weather, so forgive me. I'm trying to press through. As soon as this is over, I promise y'all, I'm going to literally just lay down and chill out. I'm sorry, you said I don't know you and you don't know me, but it's nothing personal. I don't understand what that means. Did you say something about me? If you did, I didn't catch it. But but at the end of the day, as long as you're somebody who's willing to make sure that this is a great environment to speak on, you can speak whatever you want. It takes work, desire to be matched with intention linked to action. Have some soup. Yeah, possibly. I'm gonna try to fill myself with some vitamin C and stuff, and I gotta shut it down so I can try and get up early, so I can be available for the rise, and we'll see what happens. But that's what you're dealing with, and even the stuff like I'm dealing with now, right? Like I'm not gonna look towards something that's not natural. I'm not gonna pump myself with this or that or whatever. Pump myself with stuff that's natural. Matter of fact, I shouldn't have even been able to speak on this rising. But I made sure that I did certain things that are simple. I was able to gargle with certain things that help you to be able to be healed, right? To do some quick things, right? So these are things that help you to grow and help you to move, and that's the environment. Some people go to the environment if I need to be part of something that's controlling and fake and messes up my system, right? So you gotta say to yourself, like some people want the quick fix. Some people get sick, and not just in physical sickness, right? But some people get sick, and they're like, okay, I got to just go to whoever's telling me that this is what is going to heal me, whatever's going to take me out. Yeah, elderberry is really good too. Yeah, but people are just looking for whatever. Oh, okay, you'll give me a vaccine, cool. Oh, you'll give me $1,000 and something on my tax return, even though I'm going to have to make sure that I still pay you back or whatever, but okay, cool, give that to me and help me to go further in debt. Okay, you're not going to teach me about discharging debt, but you're going to teach me about keeping debt or paying off debt or passing debt to generations and stuff. Like people are all over the place because they keep messing up and they keep going off of what everybody else has. They keep going off of what everybody's system requires. They keep curving the grade. The grade should be based off of your people, your system, your culture, a natural culture that goes past stuff, things that are eternal. Universal law is eternal law. Natural law is eternal law. From now until the end of time, if I plant a seed in the ground, the seed will grow. If it gets everything it's supposed to get as far as water, aeration, depending on where it's supposed to be, temperature, all that stuff. There's certain universal principles that just will last from before we were born. They will continue to be after we're born. They will be past our grandchildren, things like that. Well, nothing is eternal, okay? If nothing is eternal, then energy is not eternal. Is that true? Is energy eternal? Do you believe energy is eternal? Scientifically speaking, is energy eternal? If you don't mind my asking, is energy eternal? According to the Big Bang, scientifically, aren't stars supposed to still be spreading out because space has nothing that can stop it, really, because space is a vacuum. Therefore, once the Big Bang happened, stuff just kept on going. Energy is not eternal? Okay, how so? What stops energy? Does everything that exists have energy? Does everything that exists have a frequency? Can anything exist without a frequency? Can anything exist without energy? I'm just going off of. I'm not the smartest man on earth. I don't claim to be, but I claim to be somebody who's very good at context and facts and putting them together. Does everything that exists now is it energy? If somebody dies, doesn't the energy just turn into something else? You say that the universe will expand until the universe becomes cold. Problem with that is that you haven't seen enough case study of that. You have a theory you live off of, right? And you still haven't really. The people aren't really answering my question. They're saying energy doesn't exist, so they're saying, I guess, though, the universe is going to blow up one day. Okay. So how long will it take for the universe to blow up? And when you say the universe is going to blow up or energy is going to stop or the whole thing's going to mess up, okay, so does that mean that Higgs particle stuff is going to be done with? Right? You see what I'm saying? Anyways, we can get into that, but like I said, we're grading things on a curve. Somebody wants something to be true, so they have to start having theories. Theories are not facts. Theories are things that get you from point A to point C. A theory is point B. You can't figure out point B, but you need to go from A to C. So you're like, well, I don't like Elohim. I don't like God. I don't like spirit. I don't like universal law, natural law, which would be scientific. Therefore, I have to come up with something to supersede science while telling you you're the pseudoscientist. By passing by Yeshua HaMashiach, I'm not worried about it because I follow after him. So thank you. I appreciate that. There's nothing after death. Okay. That's your standard. Is that supposed to like break me or something? Or is that supposed to break people on here? That's your standard. Thank you, Minister Tam. If that's your standard, then go by what you go by. But I'm not going to curve where I am just to meet your standard. Right? And if you believe that nothing can come from something, because that's basically what the Big Bang Theory is, right? Or even to say that everything was in the signs of a period, all mass and energy would makes no sense because you couldn't even fold up, even if you took all the oxygen out of, or anything, all the air and everything out of a freight train and crumbled it up. The freight train couldn't fit inside a period this big, right? Which means that all the stuff that y'all talking about, the universe couldn't exist. Can I remember anything before I was born? Actually, I do have memories of certain things. I believe in DNA memory. You would call it scientifically, or some people would call it scientifically. Some people don't like DNA memory. I do have memories, though. I believe in DNA memory. I believe there's certain things that you do. That's because of that. Heck, evolution believes that. Evolution says that, hey, because we're trying to get to a certain place and we've seen where we come from, we need to keep on changing because this is what we need to do. Intelligent design, some people would call it, right? So if you're saying that just because you are in a place where you don't believe, once again, that's your standard. You don't believe in DNA, or you've never heard of DNA memory? You never heard of that? You might want to study it. That's not something that I came up with. That's not something that's biblically, people would say it's not biblically sound, but I actually have no problem with it because it's saying the same thing the Bible says. But once again, you have to go by your standard. If your standard is, hey, there's nothing, then you end up trying to reach nothing. That's all it is. So I'm not going to curve. See, that's a great example. I'm not going to curve my belief system because somebody's like, you got to believe what I believe. Or I believe that you're talking about something, therefore you were raised a Christian and all this stuff, which I wasn't. Or you are a Christian, which I'm not. Or you believe exactly what people say you're supposed, what I learned you believed in a little bit of reading and studying. Or if I grew up in a Roman Catholic environment or whatever church environment, if you grew up in, and therefore I'm supposed to agree. No, that doesn't apply to me. My standard is higher than a lot of stuff that you've even heard, and I'm willing to have actual conversation, not to use ad hominem or not to, try to use straw men to do something. I like to use something I'm not even arguing. I'm not arguing at all, right? Yeah, I studied a lot too. I was agnostic for a while, so it wasn't that I could have cared less about Yah, but I was somebody who like grew up and was very disappointed in religion, or what people call religion, and therefore I was like, you know what? I'll go ahead and be what I'm supposed to be. And I'll just do me. And if Yah's out there or God is out there at the time, that's what I would have said, then, he'll just have to deal with it or whatever. But I'm a good person. I'm this and that. And I said the same thing a lot of people did. Right? I studied Buddhism. I've studied different sects of Buddhism. I've studied different sutras. I've studied different versions of Sunni and Shiite Islam. I've studied Nation of Islam. I've studied, so, I've studied science. I've studied evolution. I know when you talk about Darwinism, I know when you talk about other forms of evolution that came before and even came after. A lot of people don't even know about evolution and things that led to evolution that existed before Darwin, right? So, but I can't curve what's truth. Like, truth is truth. And truth comes with stipulations. If I go outside of truth, I can't bring stipulations to my people or to anybody I would speak to my own life. I can't even be accountable if I won't speak on truth. So there's certain truths that are unalienable no matter what. That's why even the Constitution of the United States uses that word. They comprehend there's certain rights that you can't be separated from, but you can give away your right if you don't want to obey law, natural law, universal law, etc. If you don't want to be accountable, then somebody's going to say, hey, if you don't have a plan for your life, I got one. I don't really grasp retrospective causality because I've never really studied it. I've read a couple of things as far as terminology concerned, but I can't act like I know much about it. So I'll leave that there in all honesty. But yeah, so you have to, you got to be in a position where you're ready to accomplish certain things and stop grading yourself on the curve. If you're going to reach the heights that you're supposed to reach, I'm not going to curve it for anybody else, right? Well, that's what I'm saying. So a lot of people stick to what school and the ruling elites taught you. That's not what I stick to. That's not my standard. Our school that we teach out of is not accredited. You know why? I was going to get it accredited, and I was like, man, how are people going to really want to come to my school if we're not accredited and we don't have this on the Better Business Bureau, blah, blah. And then you know what I did? I said, let me study what the top schools in the world do. The top American schools, let me go to England, let me look at some different places. And you know what I discovered? When you go to Oxford, when you go to Berkeley, when you go to Yale, Harvard, all these different institutions, they're not accredited. Did you know that? When people talk about my school's accredited, blah, 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 the top schools that are above your schools, they're never accredited. You know why? Because they would have to bring their standard down to be accredited. So they can't teach you higher learning if they have to be accredited. Right? So where does the accreditation even come from? If the highest schools in the country, if private schools exist and they say we don't want to be accredited, right? If the highest schools in the nation, right, private schools, private colleges, etc., if they say we refuse to bring ourselves to that level, then why would you keep on studying what those people taught you? As far as Islam, there's a lot of stuff I feel like is misunderstood. As far as Islam, I think there's some things that I don't personally agree with as far as our standard, but I understand first and foremost that anybody that's Islam would be my brother because Ishmael and Isaac are brothers, no matter what. I comprehend, therefore, that we should have love for one another. I comprehend that whether you believe him to be a prophet or I believe him to be one and the same with Yahweh Elohim, that we should listen to, which some people might say Isa or Yahweh, or I'm sorry, Yashvai, etc. But we should make sure that we are brothers first and foremost. The main thing should be the main thing. We can have greater conversation and discussion. And I think there's some things that should be discussed because I think there's a lot of things that are misrepresented in the Quran. There's also a lot of things that are misrepresented in the Torah. Either way, we're brothers, right? But I don't curve. See, so a lot of people will want me to come out and be like, man, you should need to curve that. Stop grading. Stop saying like there could be a possibility of us coming together as a people. But if Ishmael is my brother, that means Ishmael is a Hebrew too. So why would I be against my brother? You know, I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be at all. I'm not at all. And I refuse. Okay, Elohim fear, loves those that fear him. The word fear would actually break down to respect. So, yeah, I guess so. If I agree, tap the screen. Okay, thanks. The Quran is a Roman Catholic creation. Yeah, I've heard that theory, that Muhammad is there. I'm talking about Ishmael and the bloodline, though. So, but even if you're going to look at that, Mary, the cow, all the different things that are in there, the different sutras and different things, not sutras, excuse me, I'm getting my stuff mixed up, surahs and different things like that, like, you can do that. Well, truth can be mysterious, right? But any good mystery is designed to be revealed. So, any great mystery is designed to be revealed. Are you willing to go through what it takes to reveal the mystery? Are you willing to say it was Mr. So-and-so in the library with a candlestick? Are you prepared to do that, right? Or are you just going to be like, well, just truth is always hidden, right? Now I'm not going against you. I'm not saying you were against me. I'm just saying we got to be willing to do those things. That being said, though, it's time for me to take my leave. I appreciate you all. I need to get some rest and get some healing going on real quick, and I need to sleep. I need to rest. I probably should have rested yesterday evening. However, I just wanted to make sure that I was up and spending some time with family and stuff. I probably pushed myself a little far, and then literally right after we just talked about rest, right? You know, so y'all pray for me. I'm not perfect myself. We need to become better and be greater. So why are people coming here to debate instead of learning? Yeah, I hear you. But at the end of the day, I appreciate you all. I appreciate those that say that I'm not anything. I appreciate those that don't like what I have to say. I appreciate those who are and were supporters. I thank you all for being on. I really do. And I appreciate the king and queen of each and every one of you. Please go check out my wife, the Honorable Maya. She is Bloom and Flourish. That's not A-N-D, but the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. All right, you can find her on TikTok, YouTube, and her website. And I thank you guys for being with us. Thank you to those who will listen to this later on YouTube. Thank you to those who will be with us tomorrow at 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern New York time in the Rising. And until we have the time to be before you again, I want you to remember as always that you are loved, you are necessary, you're majestic, you are fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason this world changes for the better, bare minimum. Will be the reason why the people who are in the system no longer have to be of it. Lastly, our prayer is that you will not only be hearers of this word, you will be doers as well. All right, shalom, family. Peace.